Greetings, Earthlings. Can you hear me? Great. How extraordinary to get up each morning and have this kind of company. I mean, is it not? Kind of inspiring. So, just in case somebody here who stumbled on us, this is the 19th of January, 2022, and I am that which is known as Robert Beatty, and I'm in Portland, Oregon. This is a ongoing morning broadcast of the Portland Insight Meditation Community. And it's raining. It's supposed to be raining. It's January. I like it when the weather does what it's usually done. Yes, that's kind of a traditionalist that way, right? I like it when it's winter in the winter. I have said before that when I left, I was 21 years old, and I left. I signed onto a ship to work as a mess boy in Montreal to go to Australia. And I traveled. I then traveled for 5 years and traveled and worked. And I took one book, which was Robert Frost's collected poems, a little paperback, which I still have. So, a Robert Frost comforting poem, comforting for me, for sure. A speck that would have been beneath my sight on any but a paper sheet so white, set off across what I had written there. Oops, pausing for a moment, I forgot this. There we go.
Recording in progress.
A speck that would have been beneath my sight on any but a paper sheet so white, set off across what I had written there, and I had idly poised my pen in air, to stop it with a period of ink, when something strange about it made me think, this was no dust speck, by my breathing blown, but unmistakably a living mite, with inclinations it could call its own. It paused, as with suspicion of my pen, and then came racing wildly on again, to where my manuscript was not yet dry. Then paused again, and either drank or smelt with loathing, for again it turned to fly. Plainly with an intelligence I dealt. It seemed too tiny to have room for feet, yet it must have had a set of them complete. To express how much it didn't want to die, it ran with terror and with cunning crept. It faltered. I could see it hesitate. Then in the middle of the open sheet cower down in desperation to accept whatever I accorded it of fate. I have none of the tenderer than thou collectivistic regimenting love with which the modern world is being swept, but this poor microscopic item now, since it was nothing I knew evil of, I let it lie there till I hope it slept. I have a mind myself, and recognize mind when I meet with it in any guise. No one can know how glad I am to find on any sheet the least display of mind. Try again with the coughing out of the way. A speck that would have been beneath my sight on any but a paper sheet so white. Set off across what I had written there, and I had idly poised my pen in air to stop it with a period of ink, when something strange about it made me think, this is no dust speck by my breathing blown, but unmistakably a living mite with inclinations it could call its own. It paused as with suspicion of my pen, and then came racing wildly on again, to where my manuscript was not yet dry, then paused then paused again, and either drank or smelt with loathing, for again it turned to fly. Plainly with an intelligence I dealt. It seemed too tiny to have room for feet, yet must have had a set of them complete. To express how much I didn't want to die, it ran with terror and with cunning crept. It faltered, I could see it hesitate. Then, in the middle of the open sheet, cowered down in desperation to accept whatever fate I accorded it a fate. I have none of the tenderer-than-thou collectivistic, regimenting love with which the modern world is being swept. But this poor microscopic item now. Since it was nothing I knew evil of, I let it lie there till I hope it slept. I have a mind myself, and recognize mind when I meet it in any guise. No one can know how glad I am to find on any sheet the least display of mind. From the Dhammapada, verse number 1. Mind is the forerunner of all states. Mind is chief, mind is king, queen. If a person thinks or acts with a mind rooted in greed, hatred, and ignorance, then suffering follows that person like the wheel in the track of the ox. Stanza number 2 of the Dhammapada. Mind is the forerunner of all states. Mind is chief, king, queen. If a person thinks or acts from a mind rooted in non-greed, non-hatred, non-ignorance, in love, compassion, wisdom, generosity, then happiness follows that person like the moon in the path of the stars. Mind. We come to this moment in life. This spot in the Earth's orbit, this place in our own orbit in our life. And this is exactly where we are. There is something that we share with that speck on the paper. With the dog or cat curled up at our feet. With the tigers of the world, the elephants of the world. The downtrodden and oppressed of the world. The despots. there is this mysterious awareness. And of what is it aware? Life. And so we begin in that very traditional way. Come home to the body and its breathing. It's been breathing for a long time. And each breath has its moment of beginning. Sounds like an old familiar song, doesn't it? Come home to the actual sensations of in-breathing and out-breathing. This intention to stay with in and out breathing somehow helps to make everything else obviously visible. And so we encounter thoughts. We call this the wandering mind. And the wandering mind has a mind of its own. Thinks what it wants to. Is profoundly wild. Not wild in a bad way, wild like nature is wild. So we set our course and intention to be present and awake with the breath, with the body, to awaken in the midst of the trance states of the wandering mind. reminding us of Ajahn Chah's simple, beautiful guidance. How to bring meditation into balance in any moment. This moment is like this. It's categorically not. How can I improve this moment? It's, can awareness actually be on? On to receive this mysterious livingness which is breathing in and out. On to receive and know any thoughts that arise. And sometimes the thoughts are really coming from desire, wanting something. The first hindrance. Reality would be better if I just had this or that. Or reality would be better, I would be better, life would be better without this or that, disliking. Or there might be storms of restlessness and agitation, worry, remorse, storytelling of all kinds, restlessness and agitation, or sleepy dullness, sloth and torpor. Consciousness is a pretty tenuous thing sometimes. And doubt, the why am I doing this kind of thing. And then there are moods. What's the mood this morning, now, this moment? And so we come to this breathing moment. And we can use the focus on the breath, concentration on breathing, to calm everything down. Let us be here in the present moment. On the one hand, we use the breath to bring some stability and concentration. On the other, the second wing of awakening, mindfulness is awake to whatever happens. And sometimes in our lives there's great ease, and other times there's great pain. There's sadness, there's loss. There's that complicated celebration of children leaving home and then not having them around. There are health issues, physical pain. They all too are integral to our waking up. So sometimes when there's physical pain, emotional pain, we take this focus of concentration from breathing into where the life is, where life is manifesting strongly. The sadness or the fear, the anger, the pain, the sensations that we call pain, at least. And we abide there. We turn toward the uncertainty, the confusion. And this is why it takes such a brave heart to be a meditator. A huge amount of our lives is designed to avoid doing precisely this. Sometimes it feels like the pain is bottomless, that the tears will go on forever. It's not, and they won't. But it feels like that. Another reason for Sangha in this vastness of a human life, to have, even over Zoom, a collective that we can rest in. And so we bring to our practice both love and compassion. Such a loving act to even sit down to meditate. Breathing in and knowing it. And perhaps a quiet whispering, I aspire to love and accept myself, exactly as I am in this and every moment. When I discover that I'm hurting in any way, that chronic pain in the low back or the pain in the shoulder or somewhere in the gut, or maybe it's a pain of loss, disappointment, confusion. I aspire to turn toward it and hold myself in sweet, kind compassion. Sweet, kind compassion. Not flinching, not distracting. One of the distractions is the ego defense of, well, my suffering isn't so bad. Those people in Yemen have got it much worse, or and there is always extraordinary suffering in the world. And we each carry some of it. And it's real. So neither dismissing nor exaggerating, but honoring, ah, yes, this is true. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. Let us use the imagination to imagine something that you think you're going to be doing today. Maybe it's driving the car. Maybe it's taking care of children. Perhaps it's making a meal. Maybe there's something onerous and difficult that you have to do today, that you've committed to. Or perhaps there's some great delight awaiting you. What about imagining doing it in complete awareness? Letting go of the notion that, well, I meditate in the morning, then I've done my meditation for the day. Instead, with no tension, I intend to be awake much of today. To notice how it is to pull out my keys, or to tie my shoes, or to start a Zoom meeting. This is the day of my life. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. And I call to the altar of our hearts Ruth Dennison, please call to the altar of your heart, your teachers, your mentors, all those people who have held you aloft. It's a beautiful phrase, to hold aloft. All those people that have taken the time to notice you, to support you, to encourage you, maybe to correct you sometimes. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. Please join me in the wonderful practice of seeing all these beautiful people. I see Steve Mayer in either Minneapolis or Paris or somewhere. Hello, long time no see. We went to Thailand together on a pilgrimage 100 years ago. Well, I have two announcements that I'm aware of wanting to make. The first is the first. On the 1st of February in the evening, 7 p.m., the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee of PIMC invite you to come and do a Zoom meeting. We were thinking it would be hybrid, but because of everything COVID, it's going to be Zoom. And it's an invitation to really to give feedback and to participate in this journey that we're involved in now. Among the things that will happen is Kat will show her PowerPoint presentation. Too many P's in that. PowerPoint presentation summarizing the feedback that we got from the community. We had 178 people, I think, respond to the questionnaire several months ago. And it's very interestingly collated and helpful. We also have created a diversity statement, and we really want your involvement. It has to be a community journey. It's not something that someone else can do for us. So the more information will come out on that. We have the link, and some advertising is emerging very soon. But you may save the date. It's the 1st of February. And Ruth Dennison's new website is now live. Thank you, Kat. You worked on it for some months. It's beautiful. I'm going to show you a little bit here. There's been a ruthdennison.com website for a long time, but it was not very pretty and missing things. So here's the new website. And something's in my way. Oh, there we go. Meditation is not a search for something. Rather, it is a journey to discover what is there. That sounds a lot like Ruth. And then there's lots of really nice pictures in it. This is one I took, actually, at a teachers' conference in New York. And pictures from different times in her life. This is one. This is I forget, 1983, I think. This was the day of my Dharma transmission, this picture. So anyway, you come to one of these and you click on it, and you get lots more. There we go. Brighton-Bush. And this is her teacher, U-Ba Khin. This picture hangs in the Dharma Hall of the center she founded. Anyway, lots to read, and videos. Oh, here's a nice picture of her with Henry. Lots to read and videos to watch and audio to listen to, and I highly encourage you to visit it. It's ruthdennison.com. Pretty straightforward. So, I think that's what I have to share this morning. How about you?
Robert, this is Aaron. I have a question.
I hear a voice very quietly.
Hi. Okay. Hi, Robert. This is Aaron.
Hello, Aaron.
So I have a question. So, of course, I live in Seattle. I am a person with very little financial means in my life, but I would like to contribute, if I can, in the work in restoring the Dharma Hall and the functional.
You went silent.
Oh, I'm interested. I have no idea why. I'm interested in possibly helping, if I can make it down from Seattle, to help restore the Dharma Hall to functionality. And I wonder if there's any sort of a timeline on when that would be happening.
In the next few weeks. The way to do that would be to go to the website and sign up on the volunteer thing.
Yeah.
And make it apparent that you're in Seattle, but you'd like to know in advance when things are going to happen. and you might be able to drive down.
Okay. Yeah, I have done that, and so I just haven't heard anything yet. So
Yeah. It's just all coming together now, the timeline. In fact, yesterday, can I remember this? No. Well, it's Thursday, not this week, but next week. Yeah, that's right. Thursday of next week, the movers are coming to move all the heavy lift stuff down into the tenants' offices and into the living room. And then 2 days later, the carpet people are coming in to clean. And we're not really sure what's going to be needed at this point. One thing is that with Jamie's, the company, crystal clear windows and so on, the two fellows have worked at the center for 2 full days. All the windows have been washed, all the gutters have been cleaned out, the sidewalks have been pressure washed, and the roofs have been freed of as much moss as possible. I mean, the place it's looking remarkably good already. So we're not really sure yet what's going to be needed.
I'll keep my eye open, and I'll know that probably nothing prior to the weekend following this weekend. Is that?
That would be a very good estimate.
Okay. Alrighty. Best assessment available at this time.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
And your presence here is a great gift.
I
Really.
appreciate that. It's not something I understand fully, but I appreciate it. Thanks.
Well, we support each other by showing up. Each one of us is like one of those buttresses on Notre Dame. There's something that comes up and it holds the place up. From Denise, the Frost poem. Oh, good. Thanks, Denise. I've just firmed up. Well, there's several retreats coming up. I'm doing a retreat at Brighton Bush at the end of May. It's a small retreat. There's a total of 26 people. So if you want to attend it would be good to sign up soon. Also, Hollyhock in May, early May. I think that's right. And Hollyhock in September. Those are now on the books. And Germany in July. Germany, I think, is real because I bought plane tickets. Oh, Kat is correcting me. Hollyhock is May into June. Yeah. I'm so gifted with dates and calendars. It's just so easy for me to remember. I'd like to say it's because I live so much in the present moment, but I think it's just a deficit. Where do I sign up for the May retreat? Brightonbush. I don't know that it's on our website yet, but brightonbush.com or hollyhock.ca. the mind. Do you know why Canada has .ca as their ending, their suffix? It's not only those of you, some of you might not even get this. It's CAA. What are you doing today, eh? And how Canada was named. John A. Macdonald and the boys were sitting around and wondering, what are we going to call this place? And John A. Macdonald came in. Maybe he went out to the restroom or something. He came back and said, I've got it. C-A-N-A-D-A? Oh, dear. Grade 6 humor.
Morning, all. It's Denise.
Hello, Denise.
So I'm not even sure exactly what my question is, but more so like a concern that sometimes when I'm meditating or something uncomfortable or I dislike or a feeling or whatever it is, there's a turning towards it, but then there's also an ignoring. And so I guess I'm sort of wondering about spiritual bypass and when, like, finding that balance of like, when do I turn into the thing that is so terrible or feels so uncomfortable? Kind of like sitting, I don't know, like I feel like there's that there is an opportunity to just kind of ignore everything that is wrong and kind of just turn into my body or turn into something else and not the thing that really should be attended to.
It doesn't sound like it's very far away right now. In terms of acknowledging it. And of course you avoid it as much as you can, because that's the way we titrate the amount of anguish. You know, that we measure, not measure, but we adjust or adapt. How much can I tolerate? How much inner and outer support do I have in this moment in order to feel this through? And so of course I'm not privy to what's going on, but it doesn't look like spiritual bypassing is a very successful MO for you, because you're feeling. Whoop, I lost you. Where'd you go? Oh, there you are.
Sorry, I got dropped for a second there.
You're back. Is that making sense, what I'm saying?
Can you say it again? Because I think I lost my connection when you said it.
I have no idea if I can say it again. I don't...
Something like turning towards it and accepting that's how that is.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing that I wish I'd said. I just think that it really behooves you to be very kind with yourself and to realize that you can only accept and integrate whatever it is that's emerging at your own pace. And that, of course, you're going to deflect and avoid and like that right now, that wave that just came through, that's not spiritual bypassing. And part of what happens as we open up to things is they feel very out of control. You know, there's that feeling that if I start to cry, I'll cry forever, or if I allow this rage in, I'll destroy the house or kill somebody, or that's all just normal. Whoops. Oh, there you are. And so it's so messy. You know, this willingness to open up to what's deep inside us is so messy. How you doing now?
Yeah, that's helpful. I think I just, I guess maybe it's also doubt that like, that I don't know, how can this work, or why am I doing this, or what, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
So that's part of the messiness, isn't it? It's like, here I am, I'm feeling all this, whatever it is, and it's very unsettling and unstable. And am I doing it right? And will this lead anywhere? And so there's doubt. It's completely new terrain, right? You're going into stuff that is new. Makes me, I think I have, let me see if I can find something. This. Pema Chodron. I used her book twice or three times now when my life was falling apart, and the book When Things Fall Apart. I never read it as a book. I used it as an oracle. I would open it up at some page, and it was always the right thing. Down, here it is. Come on, here it is. All right, you ready? In the process of awakening, the journey goes down, not up. It's as if the mountain pointed toward the center of the earth instead of reaching into the sky. Instead of transcending the suffering of all creatures, we move toward the turbulence and doubt. We jump into it. We slide into it. We tiptoe into it. We move toward it however we can. We explore the reality and unpredictability of insecurity and pain, and we try not to push it away. We try not to push it away. If it takes years, if it takes lifetimes, we let it be as it is, at our own pace, without speed or aggression. We move down and down and down. With us move millions of others, our companions in awakening from fear. At the bottom we discover water, the healing water of wakefulness. Right down there in the thick of things, we discover the love that will not die. See if I can grab that and put it in the chat. Copy. Hang on, it's the wrong place. There we go. Try that. Looks like it worked. Just a little heads up. If you write to me via the chat. I may miss what you say in the chat because I can't pay very good attention there. So if you want to get something to me personally, be sure to send it to robert@robertbeatty.com. So, Denise, good luck, my friend. No, not good luck. Take heart. That was a lovely love fest you had this morning there, I saw. That's a bright spot in your life. So, a little after 8. Anybody else want to share something? Oh, hang on. I have a little piece of show and tell if I can make it work. Not that. This. All right. For those of you that know the center, this will be a bit shocking. Ta-da! That's the new door from the living room to the ramp. It used to be a yellow, old, really quite ugly door. And this is it, a little closer up. Just it. You can see outside the ramp, that's Pete. Pete, the superintendent who put this door in yesterday. And I'm going to stain it. So it'll be big change in that room. Well, anything else anyone would like to share? Wait, I want to do this if I can find it. I want to give another shout out to Crystal Clear Window Cleaning and Gutter Services. Crystal Clear Window Cleaning and Gutter Services for all your gutter and window cleaning needs. Those two young men that came and worked on the place were really remarkable. And I talked to, what's his name? Andrew Torres, who's the owner of Crystal Clear Window Cleaning. And we had a wonderful conversation. He was a little embarrassed. I told him, when you give to a monastery in Thailand, there's this word they use, which is anumodana. Dana is the practice of generosity, anumodana. And what it means loosely is, may you take delight in this act of generosity right now, and whenever you reflect upon it in the future. With the invitation, please reflect upon your acts of generosity in the future. Create your self-experience as one of a person who is generous, who is kind, and we grow into that. And it doesn't mean one has to give a lot. It's not about a lot. It's about the moment of the mind turning toward, I can relinquish this. Well, I'm pleased that the Facebook and YouTube transmission seems to have worked.
Hi, Robert. It's Catherine.
Hello, Catherine.
Hi. I had a question about spiritual bypassing as well. Sometimes when I meditate, see, how do I describe it? I'll get focused, I'll get a concentration going. And then it's almost like the hit parade of things that have really been anxiety provoking in the past almost sort of float by, almost taunting me, like, really? Are you really focused? What about this? It's like I'm challenging myself or something. And so when that happens, mostly I just kind of watch it go by. But I'm wondering, gosh, maybe that's my way of saying the anxiety is still there, or I don't know. I just am wondering, I guess maybe if I can sort of just let it go by, I should let it go by. But if it really grabs me, I should turn to it. I don't know, maybe.
How reasonable. And you're not doing that to yourself. You're not challenging yourself. It's the conditioned mind is throwing up these things. And if you don't have to go into them, why bother? I had a very a kind of unusual image as you were talking, and it wouldn't always be the right thing, but you might think of it as skeet shooting. Just
right.
There's that boom. Oh, there's that boom, boom. Just
like
let them
go. Wait. Okay. Oh, that's funny. Okay.
It is. It's not my common approach to such things, but and if you do that for a while, how do I say this? It sounds like you have a very nice balance of going into and relinquishing, letting stuff pass and turning toward it. And if it really needs more time, it'll demand it.
Yeah. That's a little bit what I came to, but I thought, this is just so odd. Just this, here we go again, the parade goes by.
And there might be liking or disliking of it. Mm-hmm. In which case, if you can observe the liking or disliking, that's what motivates it or drives it.
Right.
And also there's this, a little wave of emotion. Who are you to imagine that your life could transform? Right? who are you? And I could say it for myself. Who am I to imagine that a profound transformation has already happened? And that I'm not at the beginning of the journey, and neither are you. Because there's some, it's like, oh dear, I don't want to be arrogant, or I don't want to, but to not accept that, these emotional storms that used to grab me with such power, maybe that preoccupied months or years, now present themselves as little, Ram Dass said, they present themselves as shmoos. You remember the shmoos and little Abner? These little white ghosty kind of creatures? That sometimes they're like that, and then it's like they don't need more work. They don't need, they are objects of consciousness that are not of any great significance.
You're right, though. I mean, it's years, and so when they in the process, and so when they present themselves, there's like, okay, wait, really? That's not. Am I denying that it's grabbing me, or is it really not grabbing me?
Right. And it's not really grabbing you because it's not, because your locus of identity or something is not in there anymore. They don't have the Velcro, the glue to pull you in. And so, okay, there's that. And there's for those of us with such strong psychotherapy backgrounds, and we can have the belief that it's catharsis that sets me free, and I should be in there, I should be in slogging around and struggling with emotions, and maybe not. Sometimes it's like you've done enough. But then it's hard to believe, because how could I be this different?
Hi, can I just say something? It's Joy.
I hear Joy.
Yes, yeah. I've just finished a book about memory by Lisa Genova, and she is a neurobiologist or something. She said we overwrite our memories to such an extent that they may not actually be very accurate. And for me, this was very cheering, because I thought, oh, if I have a bad memory, I could just say, well, maybe that didn't even happen. It's entirely possible. So I would just ignore it. And she also says that dwelling on past bad memories, it just reinforces them. So it may be a better practice to distract yourself with something cheerful. And you can overwrite all of your past suffering with something much more, by changing it into a happy story, which is also accurate.
So there are different strategies at different points.
Yeah.
I just remembered an encounter I had with Matt Flickstein. I told him something on one of my retreats with him in Virginia about something that had happened in my life that was really a big deal. And several months later, I was on the phone with him, and I brought it up again, as though I was ready to work on it some more, sort of. And he interrupted me and said, "Why are you bringing that up again?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, do you want to continue making an identity out of that for yourself, or do you want to let it go?" And now there could be the wrong moment. If you did, someone's in your presence and they're starting to tell you of some painful thing in their life, and then it'd be totally the wrong advice. But in my case, it was like, oh shit, I have been wrapping I pull this memory up and it was painful, and I pull it up and then I wrap myself up in it, and then I'm in my familiar tortured space. But that was actually a turning point in feeling shame about that. And it's like, well, it's over. I can't hear you, Catherine.
I said right. And I was just thinking, you can feel it in your body when that's right.
Yes.
When the shame is really there and present in your body, or whatever the feeling, then you do need to tend to it. But when it's just this memory, it's not a felt experience. Maybe you can just let it be that thing that goes by, or turn it into something nice. But I was thinking, I thought, yeah, that's, and for me, it would be paying attention to how the whole thing here. Yeah.
So, hooray.
Thank you.
And back to you, Joy, that notion of overwriting, it really makes sense as long as the middle step before that is becoming totally aware of it and feeling the feelings to their depth and being very mindful of it. And then we can do whatever we want with it. But it does make sense to me I would be cautioned. I would caution myself to go straight from here's this unpleasant memory, and thank you, I'm going to overwrite it with a pleasant memory.
Yeah, yeah. I hear you. Yeah, just it just was interesting to think that it might not have happened, or it might have, or 10 good things might have happened, and this one problem.
Yep.
Awareness is, I guess.
The key. I'm aware, I think I shared with you this summer, with the group this summer, that I had a profound experience last summer. A life-changing moment, actually. When I was outside looking up into the big cedar tree. I belong to it rather than it to me. But anyway, I was looking up into the tree, and I was having these memories of my life. And there was something became clear, which is that all the memories that I had, there was a certain sense of, that was nice. I was a ski patrolman in Switzerland, but this was wrong. I traveled overland to India with my girlfriend Liz, but there was this wrong. And that there was always something wrong. And then it was so clear. The mind was very quiet, and then this was happening. And it suddenly dawned on me. It was one of those revelatory moments when I realized, wait, of course there's something wrong in every one of these, because there always is something wrong. There's always dukkha. It's the first noble truth. Dalink, there's always a leak in the canoe. And I wound up just laughing uproariously that I've been making a problem in my life out of the fact that there's always my shorthand is, life sort of sucks. And, it shouldn't, because I should be ecstatic and happy and so on. But in fact, it always is somewhat disappointing. And it's been such a relief to realize that. And it's resulted in a profound rewriting of my life that, if you've been around for long, I've told the story of my father and his alcoholism and my mother and her neglect and so on any number of times, because that's the story of my neurotic structure. However, that's only 1/1000th of the story. My father also taught me woodworking. He was a man of great integrity. He didn't finish high school, and he was the first person to introduce a computer into the magazine and paperback distribution process in Montreal, in Canada. He was an amazing man. Now, it's very different. I feel different when I talk about that. It's remarkable, and I'm not creating a positive. I'm just seeing the positive. And the story about my being left in the hospital, and I was in, and so the issue of my neglect and my insecure attachment and all that story that I have very well refined. My sister several years ago told me a story that kind of threw a grenade into the middle of my belief. You know, my mother was sick. I believe that's true. I think it's true. I was left in the hospital for 10 days in the care of the nuns. And I was probably quite well cared for. I wasn't with my mommy, but I was probably quite well cared for. But then the story that my sister told me that blew up the belief system was, she said, when I got home, when I was brought home, my mother couldn't stand up, but she was sitting just inside the front door where she'd been waiting with bated breath for her baby to come home. Now that's a different story, isn't it? So it's very moving to me. I've clung so tightly to that, but I was so loved by that person that was waiting for me to come home. Her baby was not with her. So I'm watching a rewriting of much of my life. I did this, but then this was a problem. Well, what else was happening then?
Robert, I gotta speak up here.
Yeah.
Hi,
Leah.
and I know it's 8:30 and I gotta get going too, but
I'm okay to stay if there's something important.
well, I'm just struggling with this whole concept. I think that yes, it's always good to have different perspectives and like Joy was saying, maybe it didn't happen quite the way, or the story isn't exactly the way I remember it, but I do think that we really need to look at those painful or whatever, those unresolved issues, those things that keep floating up in our lives, and not just, gaslight ourselves about it didn't happen that way, or, even if it didn't happen that way, that there's something in us that's not done with that, and needs our attention, that it's not all of me, but there's some part of me that keeps going back to that and is not done with that needs some help with that. And I don't think I think the help can come in other perspectives, in thinking maybe it isn't the way I thought, but I think it also, has to be honored and believed and supported somehow.
I could not agree with you more, Leanne. What I was just sharing was not a beginning of a process. It's way down the road. I have done so much turning toward and delving into and doing therapy and really exploring it really deeply. So I strongly support that if there's something coming up that has life in it, then go in deeply. And if you need to, get a hand to hold, a therapist or someone, to go in and go to the bottom of it. And I support people, when people come on retreats and they hit that kind of thing, I always support them, go in as deep as you can. Let's just see what's there. And out of that comes transformation. And the trauma can be ameliorated to some significant degree. So yes, I agree with you completely. Stages, it's where we are in the path at the moment.
I want to reiterate that I'm concerned about bypassing, but I have spent years, with really turning toward the pain and looking at it. So and that's just, I don't know how else how else you could do it, or like David brought up in the chat. Dave brought up how else would you arrive at compassion? How else would you arrive at for yourself or for others without really deeply diving into these issues that arise? So it's I don't know how else you could do it. Yeah, but and so for me, what I think I'm beginning to feel a lightening of it, but I never want to be in denial. So it's just that watching these. So this is just for me. As I watch these things, for me, paying attention to what's happening in my body is really important. And that's also something that's been very hard won, that knowledge is like, oh, is this, where am I feeling this? Is this in my gut? Is this, or is this just this thing that's going by? So, but I want to reiterate that it's been a big, long process for me. Yeah. Thank you.
I just want to say that the process that I use is, the deep dive, I think is not certainly by oneself all that helpful. I think that there has to be companioning. There has to be either the therapist or the presence of self to really say something in me. I'm still here and I'm whole and I'm here with this old pain that just keeps coming in. As much as I may have worked on it, there's something here that still needs support and processing, and to just trust it and be with it. But to listen to it and come back to presence, or to have a supportive other presence.
Amen. Makes sense to me. And there's a spiral to it, I think. It's something that you think is, well, wasn't I done with that 10 years ago? And boom, here it is up. Well, there's another loss or something else provokes that trauma. And there it is. And we become more and more skillful and able to be present. And also, you put it so beautifully, to be that loving presence for ourselves. That's the refuge in the Buddha. For me. Yeah. Well, I am needing to zoom out of here. Let us sing our way home. May all beings, including the one sitting right here as you and me, may all beings receive all blessings. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. See you soon, dear friends. Take care. Have a mindful day.
Good morning, Tim. Good morning, Neil. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning. Is that Joe? Mm-hmm. Hello, Bruce. All right, dear friends. Till soon. Here goes. Goodbye.